Okay, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the September edition of the Amherst Town Planning Board. Can we start with a roll call, please? Here. Here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, before we get into the issues tonight, a couple of things to discuss. The planning board, our members are all volunteers appointed by the Amherst Town Board. And what we do here is we make final decisions on site plans and subdivisions. With regard to rezonings and comprehensive plan amendments, we make recommendations to the town board. We are advisory only. The town board obviously are the elected officials. They receive our recommendations and they make the final decisions on rezoning, comprehensive plan amendments, and zoning text amendments. Some more ground rules here. With each of the issues we have tonight, we have 3 of them on the docket. The petitioner will present to the board first. The board will then ask that individual questions, converse with the petitioner. The chair, myself, will then ask if anyone from the public has comments or questions, and each of those questions should be directed to the board itself rather than to the petitioner. We will then have the petitioner, after all of the questions are asked, however many people ask questions, to then the petitioner will come back up and respond to those questions. There is a laser pointer at the podium for use. If anyone is going to use a laser pointer, I'd ask you to please use that screen to your left, my right. The petitioner will have 15 minutes to present. Then the first comment from the general public on that issue will also have 15 minutes. Please note that the first person that speaks from the general public will be deemed the resident, neighborhood, or spokesperson. That's the person who will get 15 minutes. So if you know who that is, please be first in line to speak. Any other individual speakers after the resident or the neighborhood resident or spokesperson, 3 minutes apiece. And I would ask everybody who wants to speak or have their say on an issue to line up over there on my right side where that blue tape is to get ready to speak, so you're ready to go when we go. Beyond that, I would, in the event of an emergency for whatever reason, I would ask everybody to go out those doors and back out to your right. Don't come up here and try to come through here. Okay. Issue number 1, we have 6000 and 6020 North Bailey Avenue, Benderson Development Company, LLC.
Good evening. My name is James Baglioli. I'm an attorney for Benderson Development, 570 Delaware Avenue, Buffalo, New York. For the applicant, I first want to say thank you. In my 30 years, this is the first time I've ever been first. So I will keep it brief. It's a pretty exciting project. If you're familiar with this property, let me just get the pointer. There we go. This is what we call Boulevard Consumer Square. This is the TJ Maxx project that we have out on front of the boulevard, and the property is located behind that TJ Maxx property. It's currently in the southwest corner of the intersection of Romney Road and Bailey Avenue. It's currently zoned research and development, and it has a small building right here, which you'll see in the site plan, that's zoned general industrial district. Next slide, please. The existing development is 5 office warehouse buildings and distribution, totaling about 245,000 square feet. That's these buildings here. The building that's zoned industrial is this building right here. It's about 17.2 acres. It has frontage on both Bailey and Romney Road. All around it is commercial property. Here we have what's called the Boulevard. That's anchored by TJ Maxx and Lowe's and has Trader Joe's up front. We have the multifamily residential in this area here, but there's a large buffer. We have commercial offices, and then we have the regional shopping center and large retail back in front and in back of it. Next slide, please. The project is pretty simple. We are relocating 3 of our companies to this site. Benderson is. We're relocating Benderson, we're relocating Delta Sonic, and we're relocating Buffalo Lodging, which is our hotel division. Our entire workforce is coming out of Buffalo into Amherst, into this location, with about 250 employees. We're converting the buildings to our office headquarters for Western New York, and we're also moving all of Delta Sonic's warehouse and distribution uses to this site. It's currently located in 3 locations all over Western New York, so we're consolidating those. As part of that, we're proposing a 10,000 plus or minus square foot addition to the western building. I'll point that out in a minute. And reconfiguring and expanding the parking lot to pick up about 139 new parking stalls, which we'll need because of the amount of employees we're bringing to the site. We will be requesting a waiver of sidewalks along Romney Road. Next slide, please. This is the site plan. It's very straightforward. This is the parking lot reconfiguration. We added a row of parking against the road, and we added a row of parking which was previously approved, but we're adding it back to the plan along North Bailey. So that's the initial parking. We're adding parking in the back where currently no parking exists. That is to pick up enough parking for our users. We are adding a 10,000 square foot building expansion to this building, and Delta Sonic will be taking this entire building and a majority of this building, and the rest of it will remain offices, which is what it is now. So the way the site will work is our office headquarters will be located in this building and this building. All of Delta Sonic's warehouse distribution areas will be located in these 2 buildings, and all our employees will use the surrounding parking. It's very straightforward application. You will notice the hatched area. That is a town of Amherst stormwater easement. We're not building over that or touching it. It's staying exactly the way it is. I'm happy to answer any questions the board has.
Okay. Any questions from the board here? Brittany?
Project proposal, placement for drainage.
We're not doing that anymore. That's been removed from the project.
Still requesting.
We are requesting a sidewalk waiver.
You would agree though where this place, it's a heavily shop area. The anticipation that at least the shopper volume is only going to increase.
This is not shopping. This is going to be offices. There is sidewalk on this side of the road, and we are, as part of our Costco project, providing connections to that sidewalk so you can walk right across the street and use the sidewalk and take that into the shopping center.
Around it is a shopping center.
It's all shopping center around it.
Heavily pedestrian.
Do I know? We're at the back of the docks here. Do I anticipate it? We're happy to add pedestrian connections where we can, and we have connected it to the sidewalks. I'm assuming some of our employees will walk over, but I would know I could in the winter in Buffalo. I would anticipate they're going to drive over there to hit the restaurants. That's a large shopping center, and the distance from this site to walk on a cold fall, winter, or spring day is probably going to be more than people are going to take.
Dale? No questions. Harp? No questions. Carrie?
Thank you.
Does anybody from the public have any comments or concerns or wish to speak? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bargello.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to issue number 2. This is the town of Amherst, 50 Dan Road, 550 Smith Road.
Hello, my name is Jesse Wendell. I'm a principal with Wendell Companies. We are the engineer of record for this project. Our office is at 375 SJ in the town of Amherst. So there's 2 existing parking lots, the Lou Gehrig Athletic Complex, which is softball and baseball diamonds. We're looking to reconstruct both of those parking lots. One has an entrance off of Smith Road. That's the 550 Smith Road site, and the other has an entrance off of Dan Road. This shows the parcels. So the parcel on the right is the Dan Road parcel, and the parcel on the left is the Smith Road parcel, and you can see the existing parking for Dan Road is here. It currently has 2 entrances, and then there's also 2 entrances. This is not existing pavement. It's mostly crushed stone for the Smith Road site. Next slide. So the project is pretty simple. We're going to do new full-depth pavement construction for both parking lots. We're increasing the parking by just about 100 parking spots. There'll be a few less on the Dan Road site, more on the Smith Road site. We're also adding parking lot lighting and then pedestrian lighting that connects, there's a walkway that connects the two parking lots on both sides of the complex. So we're adding some pedestrian lighting so the site will be well lit. In new entryways, very efficient parking layout. We're increasing the safety on the Dan Road site. We're going to have a one-way entrance and exit. Currently, you can enter and exit both sites or both entryways. And that's about it. We're adding landscaping. And I mentioned the lighting, and improved stormwater drainage. So again, here's a larger site plan. You can see the new parking lot layout, even though that's a small image for Smith Road, and then the new parking lot for the Dan Road lot.
Okay.
Any
Thank you.
questions?
Brittany, any questions?
We're going to have, basically when you enter the parking lot, right now there's two, maybe three entrances. So yes, thank you. So we're going to have a one-way entrance on this side of the parking lot, and then it's one-way vehicle traffic, and then an exit onto this, at this end of the parking lot. So we're trying to improve the safety of that condition. It's an odd-shaped, narrow parking lot.
Pedestrian walkways out the parking lots or not at all?
No, there will be no pedestrian ways.
Not at all considered?
We talked about sidewalks along Dan Road, and we got a variance for that. But we could add some striping for pedestrian way. Yeah, I don't think it's going to show up there. I'd like to check I can check our paving plan. There may be some striping on there. That's a fair comment. So what,
Direction as to where pedestrians should be crossing.
yep, we can add some striping for pedestrian walkways.
Dale, any questions? No questions. Herb? No questions. Carrie? No. Okay. Does anybody from the general public have any questions on this project? Hearing none? Close the hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and now we got issue number 3. Ashley Green Phase 2, 10060 Transit Road, DJC Land Incorporated.
Good evening, Ken Zouch with the engineering firm GPI here tonight on behalf of DJC Land Inc. We were in front of the board last month discussing the sketch plan for Ashley Green Phase 2. As you can see, the project is located on the west side of Transit Road, north of Smith. And just want to make a point that this property is zoned multifamily residential District 5, MFR 5, which does allow a much higher density and yield than what we're proposing. Previously, when we went through the rezoning process for this site, we were identified in this area as a townhouse development of 52 units. We've since revised the plans and brought it down to a 27-lot single-family subdivision. Next slide. So it's going to be 27 lots on 9 acres. We have a public right-of-way going through the development, and lots, ranging in size from 7,000 square feet plus, which is all code conforming. Next slide. You can see this is our proposed sketch plan here. When we were in front of the board last month, there were a couple of outstanding items that were needed in order to advance this. Number one was some sort of confirmation that the landowner is allowing us to move forward and file that application. We have provided a contract to the planning board that indicates that we are authorized to seek development plan approvals for this with the intent that they will purchase land upon final approvals. The other item that was requested is a stub street to the north as well as to the south. We have added both of those. They're going to be located just behind the commercial area, just behind what's the commercially zoned property and the lots. So we do have those two stub streets providing potential future access to the northern and southern properties as needed. I believe we had one more slide that might have just shown the difference. So this is where we were last month. Is this plan? We did not have the stub streets. Now we do. In addition to that, just on some of the planning board comments, we did have a common area that's located to the north here along the creek bed. They requested that we provide access to that common area because previously the lots just extended across all of the frontage. So we've reduced this lot size here, again, still code conforming, but have allowed a smaller section, probably about 40, 50 feet wide, of this common area that can connect and run throughout. So that way there's access straight from the public right of way. Those were really the only significant changes. Not much. I can cover anything that board members might have missed from last month. Otherwise, can take any questions you may have.
Thank you. Brittany, any questions?
Well, I wasn't here last month, but it seems like you really maximize your profitability in making these small, single-family lots, right?
Well, they are code conforming lots. That's what the code prescribes. And again, we've gone from a 52-unit townhouse project down to 27 lots. This is more in line with what the developer is seeking, just in terms of a single family house development instead of a townhouse development, and we're following the code.
And then do you think you'll likely apply for condo status?
It's really unknown at this time. I did request it from the developer. They said, you know, it's so early they don't have a feeling one way or the other. There, of course, is going to be an HOA here because we have common area. Whether or not it's condo status, I can't speak to that at this point.
Seems vastly different from like a mixed use or townhomes. That's just very different than what was previously.
Sure, it is. I mean, it's allowed per code, and I think it still provides a type of transitional use in between what we have as the mixed-use frontage along Transit Road, going down to your single-family lots. We have kept, one of the things that we wanted to do was keep the setbacks. The code allows us to get 25-foot front setbacks. We've kept them at 30 feet, so that way that corridor, that road that runs throughout the entire site, phase 1 and phase 2, everything's all, you know, at the same setback as the larger lots over on the west side. Well, the intent was always to have multiple products available on the site, multiple levels of housing. You know, that's why we have the larger lots on the one area. We're looking for a different market with phase 2 here. And, you know, this is what they determined would be best suited for them.
I think the project as a whole is a lot more attractive than when it was very initially presented, and now it just seems like they get out of the gate. I would. No further questions.
Dale, any questions? Art?
Yes.
Carrie, any questions?
No questions.
Okay. We'll now open up to the general public. Is there anybody that wishes to speak? Come on up.
Go back to the map that he had before this. Thank you. My name is Dan Rosenthal, 1200 Smith Road, East Amherst. I've been living in that same house for 64 years. So basically, I know that area. I don't know if any of you guys, I went to the very, very first meeting of this, what are you looking at, 4 years ago? At least. The reason why I say that, because we put a YouTube video on that area when it was a flood. Okay? This area is the 100-year flood area but my wife's been married to me 32 years, and she's been there 3 times for a flood. Well worth watching. There's 2 of them, 2 minutes, one's 10 minutes long. It would be East Amherst, Ransom Oaks, flood zone. It's 10 minutes, 11 minutes long. Well worth watching. You're going to see the water going across Transit Road. The area that he wants to meet to Smith Road, that's underwater. All right. The next thing you want to do, if you decide you're going to build this, I've been there 64 years, we already rebuilt the bridge on Ransom Oaks Drive that used to be only 2 pipes. They had to eliminate that because that was flooding over. According to this map, it looks like we have a bridge right here. Don't have pipes there. That better be solid concrete, no pipes. Here, I take it, we're going to Smith Road, if I'm correct. You better do the same thing here, because down the road here is where that bridge overflowed. When they talked about this 4 years ago, he was going to put this big pond system that he can regulate how much water was going to go into Ransom Oaks. Well, what I can see is what you got right here. Now, there is another ditch that goes all the way down here, over to my property, and all the way up to Transit Road, which goes across Smith Road. And if you know the Brussels, you got the landscaping, you got the post office, all that water coming from that way. So I don't know what his plans are here, but once you see that video, you will see what that area looks like. Let's see once you build, this was one of my other things I brought up. We already got Smith Road, Smith and Staley. You have Dan and Walcott. They don't meet. It would be nice if, I believe the man that owns this property is the one that has this property. You'll probably end up selling it after this gets all built up. There it is, that's Lap Road right here. This is gonna be, in the near future, you gotta think about it, signals. We probably all say, no, that ain't gonna happen, but look at what it is from Smith Road all the way to Millisport. This will end up, guarantee you, a quick way for people to go to the 990. If you guys are not familiar to it, but County Road gets to Transit, and the only way you're going to get to the 990 is follow North French. You're going to go past the school, all the signals. A lot of them will say, I'm going to go down Staley, hit Smith Road, and buzz by that way. Well, what's going to happen here is people are going to say, I'm not even going to go down County anymore. Lap Road's a pretty nice road. I think I'm just going to buzz down here. I'm going to have a better chance making this turn because over here on Smith, it's already backed up at peak times. And I could just buzz right through here, go down Smith Road, Millisport, top to 990. We all try shortcuts. You're late for work. It's just pretty much, if you're going to do it, let's make sure we do it right. Especially the water. And it'd be well worth all of you to watch that video. If you're trying to tell other people, is this worth it? I don't know. Like I said, I've been there for 64 years. My grandfather came here from Germany. They hit the 100-year flood. They bought the land in Germany. It was in Clarence underwater. So they're the ones that came back and said, hey, it stopped here. I'm going to buy this lots here. My mom ended up with lots years ago. And so we pretty much, and my mom actually helped make the book for the historical history of Swarnsville. Shows all the pictures in there. It's a big choice. I know I would have to think about it. Any questions?
Questions here? Thank you, sir.
No problem.
My name is Steve Massaro. I live at 1116 Smith Road, which is, okay, how do we work this thing? Right here. Once again, like we said the last meeting, the traffic problem. I would propose another traffic study because you're adding all this. Just going back to a second for that Lou Gehrig's parking lot, is that increasing in size, parking capacity wise?
Well, sir, how about, that hearing's closed. We're going to stick to this issue
Okay,
right now.
because if it is, then you're adding, once again, more traffic to Smith Road. Same problem here as you have in Smith and Transit. You're going from the south side of Transit where it's 5 lanes to 2 lanes here. Same problem you have that's down here where Smith Road comes into Transit. Somebody wants to make a left-hand turn during rush hour, you sit there for 10 minutes. You're going to have the same problem here. You've already had accidents there, and it's just turning into a cluster because you got 2 lanes here from 5 lanes here. Kind of ridiculous. As far as me being here and all these my neighbors, this is going to be the retention pond. What is going to be the buffer between my house and that? Is there going to be a buffer added to that to move it out of the way, move it back? What is the elevation of this going to be? Is it going to be higher than Glen Oaks and where we lived here for since the 50s? I find that to be a problem too with the flooding that we have. So my major issues is the traffic once again, and just the size of this. It's too much. And just like Dan said, turning here is just going to be a problem, especially during rush hours. Major problem. And that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on this one? Okay.
Okay. Just to respond to a couple of points and clarify some items here. There are going to be bridges over the ditches that are on site. Those are associated with phase 1, not with phase 2. And those have already been designed. They're actually going to end up being wider than what's downstream. Part of that reason why we are making them wider is we have already performed a flood analysis for the entire Ashley Green development, which is phase 2 as well as phase 1. We have looked at that, and we have run that modeling to determine what types of impacts that this development will have on the overall floodplain in the area. Again, tonight is really more of a sketch plan. That stuff will be continued to be refined as we, presumably get into any type of engineering with the phase 2 and finalize all of our elevations and all of our grading and drainage on site. We do have, we do have a pond in the southwest corner there. That's approximately 50 feet off the property line right now. I gotta imagine any of the homes that are on Smith Road are much closer to Smith Road than being placed at the back, so I would suspect any distance between that pond and actual structures has got to be over a couple hundred feet of distance between a pond and a structure. And to clarify the ownership here in, as was referenced by the first gentleman, that property to the north, the current developer, DJC Land Inc., does not own that property. When we came in with the rezoning, there's a joint effort between him and the owner to the north that saw the rezoning as a whole. However, he was never able to come to an agreement with that property owner to the north across from Lap Road, so we had to proceed forward without that property, as he does have a contract for this remaining portion. So whatever goes on up north is not anything that I can represent, and it's not a part of DJC or Forbes Homes Holdings. It's not under a separate company. Forbes has no tie to that property any longer. And just in regards to a traffic update, we certainly understand the concerns of the residents, and we'll look to provide an update on that traffic study as we move forward towards the seeker process. presuming that this project receives an approval for the sketch plan.
So, there is an upcoming traffic study in the next stage?
We would look to provide an updated traffic statement, prior to any determination with seeker for this site.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, we'll close the hearing on this. That's it for the hearings. So. Oh, yeah. Get to the votes in 2 minutes. All good?
Yeah, it's just as easy.
You guys good? Okay. With regard to issue number 1, 6000-6020 North Bailey Avenue, I think maybe take this in 2 parts here. Do we have a motion with regard to keeping the hearing open? All right, we have a motion to keep the hearing open. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Second from Dow. Roll call, please. Yes.
Gil,
Yes.
Giuliani,
Yes.
Don, Piper, yes.
Passes 5-0. Now, with regard to an adjournment on this, do I hear a motion to adjourn? Brittany has moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Dal. Roll call, please.
Shamil,
Yes.
Gil,
Yes.
Giuliani,
Yes.
Don,
And I don't know, should we indicate there was a 1-month adjournment? Should we do we actually didn't state a time frame on that. Why don't we redo that?
I think
just to
1
be on the
month would
safe
be
side? So it's automatic, okay. Then we don't need it. Okay, then we don't need to do it over. That's fine. Okay. And we got issue number 2 here, 50 Dan Road, 550 Smith Road. First, we have the secret determination. Do I have a motion? Dell moves. Do we have a second? Brittany, second. Roll call, please.
Shamil,
Yes.
Gil,
Yes. Yes.
Don, yes.
Passes 5-0. Okay. And with regard, we have to take a separate vote on sidewalk waiver?
Sidewalk waiver.
Okay. Let's start with that first. With regard to the sidewalk waiver, there's a request for a sidewalk waiver. Do I hear a motion? We have a motion from Brittany. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Dal. Roll call, please.
Shamil,
Yes.
Gil,
Yes. Yes.
Don, yes.
Passes 5-0. Okay, and with regard to the site plan, there are, it looks like 11 conditions. Want them read? Let's have them read.
You need a motion first.
I would move to approve, if I may add though, in addition to the 11 proposed conditions, one additional crossways, pathways, whatever, just in consideration. I'm not suggesting here. I think that's sort of that as to what should be done. But if there's consideration given to that, considering obviously the minors that are involved.
Okay, we have a motion from Brittany with conditions, but with the added condition that pedestrian markings on the pavement of the parking lots at least be considered. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Dell, the second. Roll call. Yes.
Gil,
Do we,
to read?
do we need to read the conditions?
Well, that's up to you, but I can't.
Let's read the conditions, so it's part of the record. We've heard Brittany, the one that Brittany added. Let's read the other 11.
Okay. The consideration of signs that are excluded from this approval, dumpsters, trash container, mechanical equipment, etc., all be screened. As-built record drawings be provided to the engineering department. Concerns raised in the Amherst Traffic Safety Board's letter dated July 26, 2024 are addressed to the satisfaction of that board. Concerns raised by the zoning enforcement officer, planning department staff, and town's landscape architect in the planning department letter dated August 23rd, 2024 are addressed to the satisfaction of the respective bodies. That the concern raised in the right-of-way agent's letter dated July 11th, 2024 are addressed to the satisfaction of the agent. Number 7, concerns raised by the Amherst Engineering Department and Engineering Services Division in a letter dated September 13th are addressed to the satisfaction of that division. That the concerns raised by the Engineering Department Sanitary Sewer Division are addressed to the satisfaction of that division. The concerns raised by the Amherst Stormwater Management Officer in his or her letter dated September 18th are addressed to the satisfaction of the officer. 10, that the petitioner obtain the required permits from New York State DEC prior to issuance of approved plans by the planning department. Number 11, the petitioner obtain any required highway work permits for work within the Smith Road right-of-way from Erie County DPW. Number 12, the petitioners consider internally pedestrian marked crosswalks, sidewalks. I'll have to wordsmith that later.
Thank you. We've heard the conditions. Everybody understand the conditions?
Yes.
Okay. And we've already had the second, I believe, so let's, roll call, please. Yes.
Yes.
Passes 5-0. Okay, and finally on to issue number 3, 10060 Transit Road. We do not have seeker on this, so we go right to the sketch plan itself. Is there a motion? Move to approve. Is that with the, with conditions? Move to approve the conditions. Dell, do I hear a second? Second from Harb. Roll call, please. Yes. Passes 5-0.
And just for the public, this is a sketch plan, which is basically, in essence, a handshake agreement between the planning board and developer and their agents on how to move forward with the proposal. Basically, the planning board has granted them 28 lots, general road configuration, stuff like that. What will happen now is the next hearing will be the seeker hearing, where the issues of drainage, traffic, wetlands, soils conditions, whatever environmental constraints are out there, that'll be the next hearing. It probably won't occur for a while. There's no sewer capacity to support this at this point in time. The town is actually working on that with the peanut line, so it's probably going to be at least a year before we have that hearing, because you can't do seeker without being able to provide adequate sewage capacity to support the proposed development. But once we get through the seeker component, there will be another hearing for the preliminary plat, and it's the actual design of the roads, lot grading, storm pipes, water pipes, sewer pipes, basically all the infrastructure nobody ever sees that's out in the street and all that stuff. The final step in this process, which will not require a public hearing, will be final plat, which is basically they will come, the plat map that gets filed with the county, they have to come back to the planning board to get approval for that, showing that they have addressed anything that was raised as part of the preliminary plat. That the preliminary plat, they've met all the conditions. Before the planning board can authorize the chairman to actually sign the final plat, which then would get filed with Erie County. So it's going to be a while. It's going to be a long process. But in this case, there's a couple little hiccups that we got to deal with, largely in this one, the lack of sewer capacity in that part of town.
Thank you, Scott. And does everybody understand that there are still several steps left to go? I know people have made concerns about traffic and other environmental concerns, flooding, things like that. Those are still on the table with regard to when the seeker hearing comes. This is just a preliminary step before that. So that is in the future, and as Scott has mentioned, not the near future. So, okay. With that, we have a director's report. Take a break.
Can I take a break?
It's up to you guys.
I'd like to.
Anybody want a break, or anybody want to plow through? Unless you need a break, Dan, the board is ready to listen.
Okay. Dan Howard, Planning Director, here to provide a little bit of insight on an ongoing project related to the suburban agriculture zoning that we have in the town. And we talked a little bit about this last month. This board was asked to provide some comments to the town board on the study itself, and then a strategy for implementing the recommendations of that study. I think everybody's familiar with what I'm talking about, right? We're tracking on that. So it just so happened that two members who are here this evening were not able to attend in August. So the first order of business was to, for me anyway, is to inquire as to whether or not those folks that weren't here last month had any additional comments or thoughts on the memo that we sent to the town board on August 30th. If not, then I'll move on to the next issue. Are you comfortable with the guidance that you provided to the town board with respect to the implementation? And I suspect we'll be back to you at some point with some more information about this. The town board will ultimately have to determine how they want to use the report. So your insights expressed last month have been conveyed to them. We'll be working with them to finalize a strategy for that. In addition to that, and related to the SA land study, we got a correspondence from the council for the owner of properties at along Shellis Road at 455 and 495 Shellis Road. Their request was to alter the recommendations of the SA report to reflect changing the zoning on these parcels from agriculture to residential 2 or residential 3, single family residential. James, can you show the map from the report? And then I don't know if you can point out, or maybe I can. So this is a map from the report. Actually, I want the other one. Yep, that's the one. This is a map from the report that pertains to the area in question. This is North French Road. Down here, the I-990 Millersport Highway. This is Shellis Road. It's cut off here, but Shellis continues over to, New Road over here. Why am I having trouble with this? Anybody want to take a guess at what that road is that goes up there? Scott? Is it it's a continuation of Hopkins? That's all right. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. So Hopkins kind of comes up here, as you probably know, and then cuts over here and then heads north. This is New Road here. Yeah, but it kind of cuts up through here. So anyway, the parcels in question are these two right here. This is the recommendation of the study as it stands today. It's recommended that these parcels be rezoned from SA, suburban agriculture, to agriculture because of the presence with respect to the town's agricultural district, the commitment that the town has made to an enduring presence of agriculture within the community, and the fact that there's no sewer infrastructure in this area to support development of single-family homes. There are single-family homes here. They're all on septic systems. So the recommendation in the report was that this be maintained or be changed from SA to agriculture. Again, we're doing away with the SA zoning if we can across the board. The request is to change this designation to single-family residential in this report. I'm going to ask you to think about that over the next month. We'll come back next month and see what you think. We haven't really given you any other background to it, and I'd like you to take a moment to think about it a little bit. But there is a request. Their town board is looking for your insights as they form a response to that request. As we've discussed before, this is the first. It's probably not the last that we'll get people who want to change the designations in this report. It's been our position that we're better off not entertaining individual changes to this report at this point, and let the town board kind of think a little bit about it. And then if there are changes, they can open that up to a public hearing and let folks go through due process for this report, which is a set of recommendations. This is not meant to say we're going to rezone these parcels tomorrow. It's meant to say in order to eliminate the suburban agriculture zoning and eliminate that kind of ambiguity that exists between suburban and rural intent of that district, the SA district should probably go away. And in doing that, we need to rezone the parcels that are zoned SA to something else. This study recommends that the appropriate use or zoning for this area would be agriculture. And so rather than just kind of cherry pick the parcels along the way, I think we'd rather at least fix a strategy on the part of the town board as to how they want to deal with this and how they want to deal with the subsequent actions that might result from consideration of this, and then work that through. I think it's premature to start changing the designations in the study. That's my opinion. Now, I'm going to ask you next month to come back and discuss this a little bit more in depth. Can you bring up the sewer map? And I'm going to ask you to also, as you're looking at this, like we normally would do, to consider the comprehensive plan that's in existence today. I think the biggest constraint here is that this area, and this is Shellis Road right here, is not within the town's consolidated sanitary sewer district. It's not intended to be in the sanitary sewer district. There's not intended to be sewers there. And so that's the strategy in the comp plan, to create a situation where we're doing single family residential here, even at a density of 3 to 3.5 units per acre, would necessitate sewer extensions in here, and will likely result in additional pressure to develop these properties along Shellis Road, which again is the actual kind of frontier between the suburban portions of the town and the agricultural areas of the town. So with that background, again, we'll ask more formally next month what you think you want to do with that, but I'd like you to just give it some thought if you can. Any questions? Mike, you look like you got a question.
Dan, you indicated that obviously there's, I think some model brothers is already looking for that change designation to residential of some sort. A couple of those tracks up near Shellis Road.
Yep.
You're worried, you said there could be other people out of it. I'm guessing you're worried about the precedential value if that is allowed to go through the way they've requested.
Well, I'm not worried so much about the value, if we're talking about monetary value.
No, not
Precedent.
precedent set.
Oh, yeah, we'd rather do this in a more, structured way, if you will. And not just look at these two parcels. If we just look at these two parcels, then the next thing is like, what are we doing with these? Right? And just because these guys didn't ask, then, you know, and these are actively farmed, these parcels. So what we don't want to do is create a situation where we're allowing single-family residential development next to established agricultural operations. They're not good neighbors. Typically, there's a right to farm consideration for folks that have farms in certain areas that have been designated for agriculture. If you put houses next to farms, the farmer usually loses. Ultimately, the folks that live in places like this are gonna say, I don't want to put up with whatever, their livestock and all the things that come along with that. Don't want to deal with all that stuff. And at some point, the pressure becomes pretty great on the farmer to change their operations or do something to eliminate that nuisance. So until there's a concrete determination as to what the future of North Amherst looks like, and where the sewers ought to be or not, we think it's premature to make any changes to this report. This report was compiled with due consideration of the town's comprehensive plan and its zoning. Those are the bases for making the recommendations. So again, just handling individual requests along the way, I think it's much too early in the process to do that. That's my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. I'm going to ask you your opinion next month. And I will point out with some hope and certainty, I guess, it appears as if the town board is interested in updating the comprehensive plan. There was discussion about that Monday night at the town board meeting. A supervisor indicated that he was interested in doing that. That's a process that is community-wide. It involves, stakeholder considerations, other thoughts and considerations about things like sewers and whatnot. It would be, in my mind, it would be better to consider a change to an area like this agricultural area in North Amherst in the context of that process. The town the current comp plan has a fairly strong commitment to agriculture and the farms in North Amherst. That might change, I suppose, in the next comprehensive plan. We don't know, but that might be the best time to talk about that. So again, these recommendations were made with current policy and practice that we've established over the years, or precedent. There's an opportunity to rethink this over the next couple of years, and then maybe Shellis Road should be residential and go from there. Again, just something to think about, not trying to tell you what to do or anything, I think, but these are the planning questions that we have to ponder in some of these places in North Amherst. So, any questions? We'll be sending along some background information to you next month, part of your book. Just wanted to kind of give you a thought. The other thing that you're likely to see in the not too distant future, I'm not sure exactly when, you might recall this area right here was subject of a comprehensive plan amendment a couple months ago. Again, 990 North French Road. This board recommended denying that request. The town board did deny the request. It's been altered slightly, and now it's back. So you're likely to see that maybe before the end of the year, and we're not sure. So again, and I think more than anything else, it just indicates that there's interest and pressure to reconsider some of the things that are going on up here. And that's why we want to update the comp plan as well. So just a little heads up on some stuff coming down the pike.
All right, we'll give that consideration. You will discuss it next month.
You won't see this, I don't think, but we will talk about this.
Right. All right. Okay then.
got the report. We'll talk about it after. You got the report. You just asked for their insights on what to do. Right. Last month. I didn't hear anything else tonight that would indicate that that's changed.
Okay. All right, has everybody had a chance to look over the August board meeting minutes? Do I have a motion to approve those minutes? Brittany has moved. Anybody second? Second, Carrie. Roll call, please.
Shamil,
Yes.
Gil,
Yes.
Giuliani,
Yes.
Khan, yes.
Passes 5-0. Okay, it is, unless there's nothing else here, does anybody have a motion to adjourn? Okay.
Second.
Dale has moved. Brittany has seconded. Roll call.
Shamil,
Sure.
Gil,
Yes.
Khan,
Why not?
yes.
My official vote is why not. That concludes the meeting. Thank you, everybody.